Evan Carter is finally called up to the big leagues. The Rangers got good news and bad news with Adolis Garcia's injury. Plus, we're talking about 5 prospects who could help the Rangers in 2024. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 5 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Friday, September 8th. Your Rangers are 76 and 63. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into today's episode, this show is brought to you by birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter promo code LockedOnMLB for a free water bottle with any order. You won't want to take your bird dogs off. We promise you. Now, the Rangers got good news and bad news on Thursday. Well, I guess they gave out the good news and got the bad news, because the bad news is Adolis Garcia has a right patellar tendon strain. There was no tear, so that is very good news for them. It is not going to require surgery. They are optimistic that he can come back sometime this season. But in the meantime, Evan Carter, the top prospect in the Rangers system, according to me, according to MLB Pipeline, according to a couple other places, he is going to be called up to the big leagues, make his big league debut today, Friday, against the Oakland A's. What a great way to make your big league debut against the worst team in the big leagues. Nice little boost for the young man. I talked extensively in yesterday's show of why this move should happen. I thought it should happen even if Adolis Garcia didn't miss extended time, which unfortunately the Rangers are not that lucky. The Rangers will now have had 5 All-Stars from this season on the IL. 5 All-Stars. Most teams, almost no teams, had 5 All-Stars. I think it was just the Braves, the only other team with 5 All-Star players. But the Rangers have had 5 of them just that went on the IL. The only one who has been completely healthy all season has been Marcus Semien. And this is just, this sucks. This just really sucks, and it's happening at really inopportune times. In August, the Rangers have lost 2, without 3 of their All-Stars for extended periods of time. Nathan Eovaldi didn't pitch at all in the month of August. Jonah Heim went down for not as long as we thought he would be down for, but still missed significant time. Josh Young left a game in August 8th, I believe it was. Maybe it was earlier than that, but he hasn't played since, and we'll see him back in maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks at this point. We're not still entirely sure. And now Adolis Garcia, 5 freaking All-Stars on the IL this year, and that doesn't even include Jacob deGrom, who pitched for a month and would have been an All-Star if he was healthy, because he was pitching like it in that glorious 1 month that we got to see him in a Texas Rangers uniform. But this is rough, and Adolis Garcia had been in a little bit of a rough way since the All-Star break. It had just been a pretty rough go of it for him. In 45 games, he had 187 plate appearances, a slash line of 207, 305, 453. That is a 750 OPS. That is more in line with what he was doing in years past. The walk rate was still very high. Obviously, the on-base was 98 points higher than the batting average, but still, it wasn't nearly as good as it was in the first half, where he had a slash line of 262, 331, 517, and 848 OPS on the season. He's leading the team in home runs, leading the team in RBI, leading the league in RBI with 100, which he got his 100th in dramatic fashion. He's still been hitting those home runs and still been walking for the most part at a decent rate, but not as much in the month of September. 6 games in the month of September where he had a batting average of 143 and on base of 182. Did slug 476 because he did have a pair of home runs, including that walk-off and a double. Of his 3 hits, all of them were for extra bases, but the strikeouts had been way up. The batting average had been way down. He had been struggling with fastballs, and it just looked like he was pretty gassed. And not that this is it's not going to help the Rangers, but by no means is this going to make the Rangers any better. But adding Evan Carter is something I thought they should have done a little bit earlier, just like a couple days earlier, maybe add him against that Houston series. But then your big league debut is that, and kind of glad that they didn't make his big league debut that series because I don't think he would have helped because he's not a pitcher. And Evan Carter's not going to save this Rangers season. That's not what he's here to do. That's not why the Rangers called him up. The Rangers called him up because he gives them the best chance to win and gives them the best value to kind of replace Adolis Garcia. Now, he's not Adolis Garcia. He's not going to do what Adolis Garcia does. He doesn't have an arm gifted by God to make laser throws on the money, and he's not going to hit 40 home runs in a season like Adolis was on pace to do this year. He's never going to do that. And that's fine. That's fine. Not every player has to play the same way. I think he's probably going to play a lot of right field, even though we haven't seen him all that much in right field. Mostly been center field and left field in his minor league career. He has played, 6 games in right field this year, 8 games in left field, 2 games in, here we go. 77 games in center field. Okay, yeah, so almost entirely left field. That was there we go. That was rookie league where he played just 2 games in center field. Yeah, so mostly left field and center field, but almost mostly center field. And he's not going to take over there for Leody Taveras. He's not going to replace those at bats, at least not this year. Maybe next year we'll talk about that. But I mean, this is a great thing for Evan Carter. He's been in the minor leagues for 3 years. He was drafted 3 years ago in the second round and wasn't on Baseball America's top 500 prospects. And everybody on the draft show was like, I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know who this kid is. I thought he was going to go to college, but this is weird. Definitely feels like a reach, but the Rangers were patting themselves on the back, were just effusive in praise of themselves when they took Evan Carter in the second round. And, the consensus around the industry was, you guys have not drafted nearly well enough to be patting yourselves on the back about getting a guy in the second round who was committed to Duke and who nobody knew anything about. Like, maybe he works out, but, you guys are crazy. And they signed him under slot, too. That's the crazy part to me, is that they signed him under slot, and he's still signed. That's just bonkers to me. That 2020 draft is going to look better and better and better. It's going to be really painful if Tekoa Roby and Thomas Sajaci are off crushing it for the Cardinals. But again, it was a move you didn't really hate to do. There was some questions with Roby and his health, obviously. That ceiling is pretty high, and it's going to be really frustrating if the Rangers don't make the playoffs this year and they trade 2 guys that end up being quality starting pitchers in Cole Reagans and Tekoa Roby, and haven't been able to develop their own starting pitchers in ever. Since the 90s, at least. It's been the hottest of minutes since they've done that. But this is not a panic move. This is something the Rangers have been considering, should have been considering, and I think it's the right move for Evan Carter, even if he doesn't come up and just tear the cover off the ball and play amazing. I think this is the right move for Evan Carter. I think it really helps the Rangers in a big way. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit more about what to expect from Evan Carter, his journey to the big leagues, and 5 prospects who could help the Rangers in 2024. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs are the most comfortable shorts or pants you will ever wear. I promise you, they are so incredibly comfortable. They make you look good. They make you feel good. It is still 94 degrees as I'm recording this at 10:30 a.m. And I'm about to go outside and take a long walk, and I have got to be wearing my Bird Dogs. They are so comfortable. I'm not going to sweat through these pants like I would pretty much any other shorts. They are just so light. They aren't made of the stiff, restricting cotton like other shorts are made of. They're made of this cloud knit fabric. They invented it. It looks just like khaki, but it stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice all your movement. Bird Dogs uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Bird Dogs are functional for literally any occasion: going out for a walk, sitting on the couch, going out on a date, going out, for golf, whatever you want. They are so versatile, so comfortable. I promise you, they are so good. And they also got cool hats like this that are also incredibly comfortable. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter promo code LockedOnMLB at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Monday, shall be breaking down this weekend series against Oakland. The Rangers take on the A's this weekend. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, like I said, Evan Carter is not called up to fix this entire team. He is going to provide a spark. Having a young prospect with this much hype around him, that everyone's going to be excited for his big league debut. He's going to be excited. The Rangers are going to be excited. His teammates are going to be excited for him, and he might just give this team a little bit of spark, but he is not going to fix this bullpen. He is not going to fix whatever's wrong with the forearm of Max Scherzer. He is not going to immediately make Nathan Eovaldi back to his May form. He's just not going to fix all that. But what he is going to do is provide a lot of value in the bottom of that lineup, working counts, getting on base, stealing bases, occasionally providing some pop. The guy just puts together incredibly quality at-bats. It doesn't matter what kind of pitchers he's facing, whether they're older than him, younger than him, more experienced. These are going to be the toughest pitchers he's faced ever, and he did provide some value in minor league camp, and the Rangers were impressed with how he held his own even at age 20. Now he's much older and wiser at 21, just turned 21 about a week and a half ago, where he got celebrated by getting promoted to Round Rock. The guy doesn't have a whole lot of minor league plate appearances. He just has not played a whole lot of minor league baseball because he has just been so good. He missed a lot of time in 2021, only had 32 games, 146 plate appearances as an 18-year-old in full season ball, had a 438 on base that year. Just looked really impressive, but back injury kind of kept him out for playing most of that season. Then last year was really his first full entire season of minor league baseball. Played 106 games, spent mostly at Hickory, 100 games there, and then 6 games at Frisco. Then helped Frisco win the Texas League Championship, their first in over a decade and a half. I think it may have been like 18 years. I don't remember exactly the specifics, but he did very, very well, and he did well in Frisco this year. Had some hot and cold months, had the month of May where he was struggling a bit through injury, playing through it, and still got on base at a decent clip because that's what he did. First 18 games in April, he had a 500 on base and slugged 543. Then comes back in June, missed some time because he really needed to take some time off for that injury. Came back and looked amazing yet again. A slash line in June of 386, 462, 705, and 1166 OPS in that month. Then in August, he slowed down just in July, he slowed down just a little bit, hit just 232, but again, the on-base was 360 because it's Evan Carter, and he is always going to get that on-base, but had the most home runs he's had in any month. He had 5 home runs that month. Then in August, picked it right back up, had a 924 OPS that month, and, basically has gone from there. Just an on-base machine who is going to basically do what first half Travis Jankowski was doing, which doesn't sound sexy, but he's also going to have some power. So, those blue pitch, they're not going to be blue pitch that Travis Jankowski was getting. They're going to be more solidly stung singles. He's going to have an excellent judge of the strike zone, going to lengthen the lineup and give you some quality at bats and work opposing starting pitchers. His nickname is FCC, Full Count Carter, because he is always working full counts, working deep against these pitchers, seeing a lot of pitches and fouling pitches off, being just a really pesky at bat. And even though the power isn't anywhere near Adolis's, it's fine. It's pretty good. This year he's got 13 home runs, 6 triples, 17 doubles in 513 plate appearances on the season. He's just going to be a very good player, and I think he's going to be Rangers' everyday left fielder, if not center fielder, next year. We'll see where that competition shakes out, but not getting the news that it wasn't a patellar tear for Adolis Garcia is huge, because that's what took out Edwin Diaz this year. It usually takes 6 to 9 months to recover from that, so he might even be out until June of next year if that was the case. But thankfully it's not. We'll see if he does come back this year. I'm kind of leaning towards probably not. But even if he doesn't, maybe it'll be in the playoffs if the Rangers make the playoffs and if he heals properly. But still, it's a rough blow for the Rangers. Evan Carter's not going to fix everything, but he definitely deserves to be up at the big league level this year, and also probably start the season next year at the big league level. Now, let's look at 5 prospects that could help the Rangers in 2024. And number 1 is obviously Evan Carter. I think he's going to be the everyday left fielder coming out of camp next year. I don't think the Rangers are going to send him back down to AAA for more seasoning. I think he's going to prove that he's ready. I think he is going to earn that spot. He's going to have to earn it in spring training. Even if he unless he does exceptionally well down the stretch, which he might do. He's a really talented kid, and he's been ready for this his big league debut for about a few weeks now. I mean, there have been people clamoring for it since May, which felt really irresponsible. I think if he got called up in May, or even at the end of April, whenever Leody Taveras was struggling, I think that would have been a mistake, and I think it would have been really tough for him to bounce back from that. I mean, he probably would have, because he's a well-adjusted kid, but I think he's going to be a big part of this team in 2024 and down the stretch here. Like, I am just so excited for this kid. He is mature beyond his years. He just turned 21. He's already married. The guy, when you talk to the guy, he's just so well put together at 21, which I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. It's almost more impressive how well put together he is, how good a head he has on his shoulders at 21 than his baseball acumen, which his baseball acumen is exceptional. Like, he's going to be a really good baseball player, but for him to be like have that much of his like life together, it seems like at age 21, is just incredibly impressive. I mean, think back to when you were 21 years old. Like, how much of your life did you have together? I know I didn't. I was an absolute mess. I had no idea what was going on. But this kid, he's got his stuff in order. He's got his head on right. He has got his priorities in order. And he knows how to hit the heck out of a baseball and have some really quality at-bats. The best judge of the strike zone, according to the Texas League, according to Baseball America. They also said they had the best hit tool in the Texas League. That is a huge compliment to this kid, and shows you the kind of faith that other opposing teams and scouts and the Rangers and prospect evaluators have in this guy. Coming up, we'll look at the other 4 prospects who could help the Rangers win in 2024 and the prospect of the week. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. You can also, I think maybe you can take a bet on Evan Carter and his first big league game, if you think he's going to get his first big league hit, or if you think the Rangers are going to pull out of this tailspin and beat the crap out of the A's or actually end up making the playoffs. You can go bet on that. All kinds of different things you can bet on at FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Shout out to the Adolis for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. Like I said on Monday show, we'll be breaking down this weekend series against Oakland. The Rangers take on the A's this weekend. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, we're talking about 5 prospects who could help the Rangers win in 2024. Number 2 on that list is Owen White. Owen White did make his big league debut this year in pretty underwhelming fashion, and this year has just been a huge disappointment for Owen White, as it has been for really most of the top pitching prospects for the Rangers this year. It's just been incredibly rough, and this year he has been dealing with a neck issue, and I kind of wish that they didn't just let him pitch through it, because the results have just not been that great this year. I mean, he had 12 starts for Frisco, where he was solid at 3.5 ERA, 48 strikeouts in 56 1/3 innings of work, but 23 walks, which is more than he had been accustomed to in his minor league career. He is not a guy who walked a whole lot of guys, and he used to have a whole lot of strikeouts. I mean, in Hickory in 2022, he had 12.4 Ks per 9. Then when he got bumped up to Frisco, he had a 2.5 ERA in 4 starts with 9.6 Ks per 9 and just 1.7 walks per 9. The velocity just hasn't been there. The strikeouts have not been there. The Rangers, I don't know what the deal is, but the Rangers need him to get his velocity back and his oomph, his groove back, because they desperately need him for their rotation in 2024. I mean, they kind of needed him for their bullpen in 2023, but I don't see them calling him up this year because he's just been a mess. He's walking everybody. He's allowing some hard contact. He's not getting strikeouts. That's just not a guy who can help you in the big league pen right now. I know the pen is an absolute mess, but Owen White is not really helping. They really need him to in 2024. Now, the next guy on this list is Mark Church, a guy who could be called up by the end of the year. I don't know. It depends on what goes right or wrong with this bullpen, which, I mean, it's hard for things to go much more wrong, but he has spent time between Round Rock and Frisco this year. He is a relief pitcher, has a 3.27 ERA in 55 innings, 35 walks isn't great, to 73 strikeouts, which is great, 11.9 Ks per nine and 5.7 walks per nine, for those of you not doing the math at home, which I would imagine is most of you. That's a lot of math. That's too much math. But this guy has been very, very good at times, but the walks have just eaten him alive, and if he got pulled up to the big leagues right now, I don't think that he would be able to get all that many outs. I think he'd have the same problem that Jonathan Hernandez had of just walking everybody. The stuff is really nasty. Fastball is pretty good. The slider is really, really good. And I think he could help this bullpen in 2024 because Lord knows they need all the help they can get. Now, next guy on this list is Zach Kent. Zach Kent has had a not as good a season as you would have hoped because he's missed most of it, but when he has been pitching, he has been mostly pretty decent. I mean, he's pitched in mostly 3-inning outings. I really like this guy. I think he could help this big league bullpen right now. In 21 2/3 innings at AAA Round Rock this year, he has got 21 strikeouts, a 3.32 ERA, 3.3 walks per nine, 8.7 Ks per nine. Stuff's really good. It plays up in the pen, and I think that he probably should have already been on this big league roster over Ian Kennedy, but, you know, that's just like my opinion, man. But I think he is going to be a part of this pen next season. I am really excited for his future. I think he is a great kid, could be a really good arm in that bullpen, and the Rangers, like I said, need all the upgrades they can get. And number 5, it is Wyatt Langford. Not this year, but like I said, next year. In Frisco, he has already played 3 games, been called up to Frisco just in 30 games in the minors so far this season, 133 plate appearances with a 327, 436, 636 slash line, 6 home runs, 2 triples, and 12 doubles in just 133 plate appearances. That's more than a 10%. Maybe it's almost 15 or 20%. I can't do that math right off my head at this moment. Okay, 20 extra base hits in 133 plate appearances. That's wild. That's just absolutely buck wild. Like, it's so impressive. We knew this kid was going to be a fast riser. For those who are asking him to be called up to the big leagues right now, no. Stop that. Stop it. This is not the Angels. This is not the Angels. The Angels who called up their first-round pick from this season, 11th overall pick, Nolan Shanuel, who's a first baseman / corner outfielder. I think he's almost exclusively played first base at the big league level. He's been fine, but I think it's really going to stunt his development down the road. He's got 16 games at the big leagues, 75 plate appearances, a 283, 427, 300 slash line, an OPS plus of, I believe, 101. 102. Didn't mean to disrespect him like that, but that's just crazy town, banana pants. Like, it's just absolutely insane. The Angels did that, and the Rangers would be pretty insane for doing that with their guy. I mean, if Dylan Cruz isn't being called up to the major leagues for the hapless, is it Washington? Yeah, it is Washington that drafted him. Then I don't think that the Rangers need to rush Wyatt Langford to try and save their season. Like, it's not that desperate. They are a half game out of a playoff spot. They got 3 games against the A's this weekend. Like, it's possible. And even if, God forbid, you do miss the playoffs this season, like, why are you sacrificing this guy with such a bright future by calling him up way too early? We've seen time and time again how much that hurts guys. Now, Wyatt Langford was always going to be a pretty fast riser, and I think left field might end up being where he plays next season. But I think in my more aggressive projections, I think maybe July is when he comes up next year. Like, that, even that feels a tad aggressive, but I mean, I've seen some people thinking that he might break camp with the Rangers next year. I mean, it's possible, but that feels incredibly aggressive. Unless he just, like, blows the doors off of everybody in spring training and, like, just lights the entire world on fire in Frisco for the next, 8-10 games, however many games they've got left. I really don't see that happening. I don't think the Rangers should rush him by any means. He is a little bit younger than Evan Carter. He turns 22, actually. No. He's older. Excuse me. He is older than Evan Carter. He is turning 22 in November 15th of this year. Born in 2001. Good Lord. I feel so incredibly old with that. But no, it's fine. This guy has got a very bright future. I think if he is up next year, that is a huge, huge win for the Rangers that he could spend less than a year in the minors. I mean, we knew he was going to be a fast riser. He's got all the tools in the world, but I think rushing him this year would be an absolute panic move unless he bats 1,000 for the next week in Double A Frisco, and then you call him up to Triple A and he bats 500 or something in a week there. It doesn't make sense for the Rangers. He's going to help this team next year, I think, clear up that left field black hole that it's been for a long time, basically outside of that one season that Willie Calhoun had half a season where he was healthy and was good, and when Joey Gallo was there and hitting 40 bombs there, it's been an absolute mess since then. And I think that he or Evan Carter, or maybe some combination of the two, will help clear that up at some point next season. But I am excited for that kid's future. But again, if you're calling for him to be called up to the big leagues, that just feels like malpractice at this point. He's had 3 games in Double A. 3 games. That's not a lot. It's not a lot at all. And he's only had, like I said, 30 games in the minors. He was drafted 2 months ago. 3 months ago? 2 months ago. Yeah. It hasn't been very long. It's fine. It's not worth risking his future because his future is so incredibly bright. I mean, you could have your outfield of the future being Evan Carter in center field, Wyatt Langford in left or right field, and then if they transition Sebastian Walcott to the outfield, which I don't know if they'll do that. We'll see. We'll see how that comes along. But man, the potential of that outfield is just so special, so exciting, and so much to dream on, which the Rangers desperately need because the present, or at least the last week or so, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long it's been that they've been in this absolute tailspin, has been very frustrating. So, alas, we look to the future and the prospects that have been having a bright outlook on their future this week. The prospect of the week is first baseman Abimelec Ortiz of the Hickory Crawdads. He had 5 games this week where he had a slash line of 214, not impressive, but the on base was 421 and slugged 714 and 1135 OPS on the season. His OPS is 994 in 107 games between multiple levels. He has 3 home runs, 4 triples, 20 doubles, 45 walks to 124 strikeouts. Those strikeouts are probably going to want to come down a little bit, but he has been very, very effective this year, put himself on the prospect map. I was kind of watching his numbers just go up and up and up for the first month and a half, 2 months, and I'm like, okay, this is a guy to keep an eye on. This is a guy who's had a very, very good season. Hitting 30 plus home runs is nothing to sneeze at in the minors. 107 games, that power is real. The on base is pretty darn good. You would like to see it be a little bit higher, bring those strikeouts down a little bit. But if you're putting up, 57? Yeah, 57 extra base hits in 446 plate appearances. That is impressive. That is something to keep your eye on, even if he is just a first baseman, which I believe is going to be the case. I think, he's only played first base. He's played a little bit of right field, just a couple of games out there, but it seems like his future is going to be DH/first baseman, which is fine if you're mashing at the level that he is mashing at for the season. Very exciting season for him, and definitely something to keep an eye on. Now, Brock Porter is another guy who is someone you want to keep an eye on. He had a pretty good start in September, but for the last month and a half, in August and September, his last 4 starts, he has had a combined 4 walks in 13 and a third innings. Now, that may not sound super impressive, but when you're looking at the season where he has 42 walks in 69 and a third innings, which is a nice amount of innings, he also had 95 strikeouts, but those walks were really, really killing him early on in the season. He had 10 walks in 12 innings in April, 6 walks in 13 innings in May and June. He had 8 walks in 11 and 2/3 innings, and then 14 walks in 19 innings in July. Now, that number has come down significantly the last couple of starts, and that is what you're keeping an eye on for him. Stay in the strike zone. The strikeout numbers are going to be really, really good at that level. He is 20 years old. He just turned 20 on June 3rd. The strikeouts are going to be really good for that level because his changeup is just way too good for hitters at that level, and he's reworking a whole lot of things. So keeping those walks down, the ERA is down. He's only allowed 1 home run all season. That is nice. That is impressive. Not a whole lot of extra base hits either. But still, nice season for him, and in a season where there hasn't been a whole lot to praise for Rangers pitching prospects outside of the month and a half where Kumar Rocker was doing really well before he had to have Tommy John surgery. Having Brock Porter have this kind of season is very impressive. We'll see if he is promoted to Hickory next year. I think that's going to be the case. We'll see if he can get those walks down even further, not have them be just overwhelming, and keep those strikeout numbers and ERA numbers in the good spots where they are at this point. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.